Most people call anything with this kind of profile and all-wheel drive an SUV. You know, Explorer, Traverse, Pilot, Highlander. Technically, those are crossovers built on car-like unibody platforms. Now, Ford's Expedition is an SUV, the real thing, old school. It uses body-on-frame construction like a pickup. In fact, it's based on the F-150 architecture, so it's no small vehicle. It weighs 3 tons, seats up to 8, and can tow 9,300 pounds.
This is certainly a land yacht, but if you're looking for the full-on Queen Mary 2 experience, that would be the Expedition Max. That adds about 9 inches of wheelbase and a foot of overall length, similar to what Chevy does with Tahoe and Suburban.
Like the F-150, the new Expedition uses a lot of aluminum body panels, but only drops around 300 pounds compared to the pickup's loss of 700. Maybe fewer carbs next time. Visually, it's a striking vehicle with crisp, clean lines and a defining strip of brightwork circling the greenhouse. There are some nice elements happening here. The cabin is classy too. I'm driving a mid-level limited model, and while this isn't from a real tree, it looks good. While there are a few pieces of budget plastic inside, the ambiance is richer than the Platinum F-150 I've driven. This makes it easier to haul long things. Nice touch. Unlike its cousin the pickup, Expedition gets one engine, Ford's turbocharged 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6, though it's tuned differently in the top Platinum model.
Permission to come aboard. Couldn't resist.
Here it makes 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. The 10-speed transmission gets a different selector than F-150. Manual shifting is done here. Ford says half of Expedition buyers tow things like boats and snowmobiles. Pro Trailer Backup Assist makes that job much easier to do, and since I'm not the greatest at reversing into a spot with a trailer, it would be the first option box I'd check. Equipped with 4-wheel drive, an automatic mode acts like set-and-forget all-wheel drive. There's a good amount of customization that can be done with the instrument cluster display. It's easy to find the right drive mode. For those intending to push the Expedition hard, the FX4 off-road package includes electronic limited-slip rear differential, upgraded shocks, and skid plates.
Now, I could make that joke, bridge to engine room, full speed ahead. I'll pass. Expedition is a big machine, but it sure can move. I'd say 0 to 60 happens in about 6.5 seconds.
For that towering driving position, this rig delivers.
If you're looking for car-like handling, you should get a car. This is a truck-based SUV, and it handles well for a truck-based SUV, but it is still a truck.
Those 6,000 pounds are felt. That said, body movements are well controlled. It's very polished, refined, comfortable, and quiet for a truck.
Okay, this is a standard cul-de-sac. Expedition handles it very, very well. I'm kind of surprised the turning radius is that tight. This is the second time I've driven this 10-speed transmission. The first was in the F-150. It's very, very smooth, and it was jointly developed by General Motors and Ford.
Some people buy large vehicles to protect their families. Now there's active electronic safety gear. Available on Expedition is automatic braking with pedestrian detection, adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go function, lane keep assist, and bliss.
Blind spot warning is really great stuff, especially in a vehicle this size. Expedition has a system that compensates for the trailer you might be towing.
Since a big rig like this is going to be on the thirsty side, it makes sense to have automatic engine start-stop. The system on the F-150 Power Stroke diesel was noticeable. With the EcoBoost V6, it's less of an issue. And it's easy to switch off if it bothers you.
Fuel economy? Well, this is a truck-based SUV. Right now I'm averaging about 15 miles per gallon. What did you expect?
Ford claims Expedition has best-in-class fuel economy, barely, over Tahoe, but if you want something more fuel-efficient, crossovers are a better bet, especially the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. For those who are prone to misplacing things, the Expedition may prove problematic. There are any number of places to lose stuff in here, including 2 glove boxes and a center console that is deep and large enough to accommodate a 9th passenger. Please don't try that. Not sure the Platinum version is needed. The Limited looks good in here, and there are the coveted heated and vented seats, plus a heated tiller too. Expedition is big, but I'll wager that any driver, big or small, can get comfortable behind the wheel. And to get up there, this is mighty handy. So is an automatic parking system. This would be the kind of vehicle to have it in, too. The Bang & Olufsen sound system, it'll treat your ears well. There are 3 automatic climate zones. The fan speed can be limited if you don't want it blasting air. It's possible to keep an eye on the kids, but they're probably too far apart to hit each other anyway. Ford's Sync 3 user interface is quite good for touch response, and it doesn't bury functions and features deep in menus. On top of that, the right amount of hard buttons and knobs is a black art that Ford is doing well. Yes, there is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. A 360-degree bird's eye view camera is optional, part of a $6,400 option package. It's very easy to get into the back.
And if you're wondering, yes, you can keep a child seat here when climbing into the 3rd row. The 3rd row? Well, it's not steerage. I'm 5'9". I have just enough headroom. The cushions are a little bit on the short side, but they're high enough so that thigh support is pretty good. Let me move on over here and show you that foot, knee, and legroom are pretty good with this chair slid to the middle position. There are belts for 3 back here. I would keep it to 2 because this position would be a little bit on the tight side.
The middle belt can get cumbersome. It's not attached to the seat. There are no seat pockets, but there are storage cubbies, cup holders, and USB ports. Seating for 3 is offered in the mid-row. Legroom can be whatever you want. It's easy to get into the way back by going right down the middle, at least for kids. Just about anything can be charged up back here, so there's no excuse for the kids not to do their homework. Everyone will be comfy too. The mid-row gets heated chairs, plus there's the giant glass roof, which makes this spot bright and airy. Like every place in this vehicle, there are loads of storage nooks.
Don't plan on towing? Maybe consider a van like Pacifica, Sienna, Odyssey. The load floor is lower and they get much better fuel economy.
To fit a decent-sized cooler in here, you'd have to move up to the max. Not only is the floor high, it's sloped a little bit, so balls and groceries might roll out the back. Here's a clever piece. It would be good for stacking things that might get smooshed, like TP. Because Expedition rides high, powered seats are less of a luxury and more of a necessity, especially for smaller drivers. They're standard. The 3rd row can be raised using the buttons. The 2nd row has to be done manually. Shouldn't be a problem. I understand vans have kind of a stigma, but Pacifica can handle 28 packs of this stuff with row 3 dropped. Volkswagen Atlas is the crossover champ at 20 packs. Expedition easily takes on 16. I'd have to do some serious scrunching to get 2 more in. I didn't mention price, did I? A rear-drive XLT Expedition begins at about $53,000 before any incentives. The Limited I'm driving stickers for $73,000. Go nuts with the options on a titanium model and it will cross the $80,000 mark. But I suppose families that tug big toys have that kind of disposable income and the cash to keep this crap fueled. Expedition has the refinement, room, and brawn to take families on major expeditions. This true SUV will float many buyers' boats. But for everyday life, crossovers and vans will do just fine. Now, there is one level above the titanium, and that would be the Lincoln Navigator. If you've not been in one, the interior is very impressive and might be worth the extra money. It also gets a power bump, 450 horses. It's possible to option those up past $100,000, and at that point, I'd be nervous to go off-road or tow heavy stuff with it. I'd probably just buy an old pickup and relegate it to hauling duty. I'm just too practical.
That is how I feel about the 2018 Ford Expedition. Now back to the Expedition Max. Part of me wonders why Ford didn't revive the Excursion name. Again, sort of like Chevy Tahoe versus Suburban. But then the other part of me remembers that was a huge machine. In fact, sometimes I would see them taking up 2 parking spots. So the name does have a little bit of baggage associated with it. Something to consider. That's Driven. I'm Tom Voelk.